My son is going to learn how to do drops today on his mountain bike. He's been riding for less than a week, but we're in the perfect place to pick up a new skill, Bentonville. There's something here that you won't find in most places, and in today's video, in addition to showing his progression on drops, we'll share what makes this place the perfect location for a beginner mountain biker to improve rapidly. Over the past week, we've started our journey across the country on a father-son road trip. As a new mountain biker, he's on a steep learning curve, and I'm doing my best to coach him up as quickly as possible. We've hit some roadblocks like difficult climbs and technical downhills, but we've also found our flow in more ways than one. During today's stop in Bentonville, we're going to try to replicate the success we had yesterday at Howler Bike Park, except this time, we're going to crank up the level of difficulty and teach him to hit his first big drop. What worked well at Howler was Tegan's ability to hike back up and repeat difficult sections over and over. That repetition allowed him to refine his riding and build confidence in areas that he might have skipped on previous rides.
Now, the best part about Bentonville is that although there are plenty of trails to be had, there are also a lot of beginner areas where he can get tons of time practicing on his bike. So that's exactly where we are. We came right to a zone called Slaughter Pen where they have all kinds of beginner and intermediate areas where he can spend a lot of time just feeling comfortable on the bike and building up that basic skill set. I think this is one of the most important parts for any zone that's going to be a mountain bike capital, is that not only it has the sickest riding, but it also has tons of ways for people to get into the sport. And that's what I'm learning sort of the hard way on this trip. I thought that I was going to be able to teach my son how to do all these different skills and drills right out of the gate. But what he really needed more than anything else was to feel comfortable going down steep stuff and going up steep stuff and riding over things that I wouldn't even think about as being difficult, little rock sections and stuff like that. And so having places like this where you can just get comfortable on the bike without having to go down something steep or climb some super steep hill, it's kind of perfect. And the thing that's wildest about Bentonville is that there are trails and little roadways like this everywhere, and biking is encouraged, and you see it showing up in the rest of the community, not just the cyclists that come here to visit. Stop real quick, I want to hit this one little trials line here. I'm just going to do it with my pack on so we can keep riding. Now, every single Airbnb that I've ever stayed at in Bentonville is always bike themed, which I kind of love. But it is really cool that the community here is actually as behind riding mountain bikes as the people are that are coming to visit. What I really like about this zone is that there's a beginner area, but right next to it is an intermediate area. So as soon as you start feeling confident, you can start to try to push it just a little bit at a time instead of feeling like you're over your head or you have to do the same thing over and over and over again and you're not progressing. It's kind of perfectly designed for progression, especially for beginners to start out and get better at riding.
How do you feel about doing your first ever drop? You ready?
Let's do it.
It would be easy for me to overwhelm Tegan with all the stuff you need to think about when you're doing a drop, but I think the better approach is to get him comfortable with the feeling of riding off a small drop and carrying his momentum through the landing. Starting super small like this can remove almost all the consequences and just help him build up confidence in the motion.
So we'll start with the mellowest one. This one almost feels like a curb drop off, but it's a great place to practice. So the best part about this one right here is that you're basically just riding off a curb, which you've probably done already. Your speed is going to help you because it's going to carry your body position, and then you're going to kind of dive your front wheel into it. But just ride off it. If your back wheel doesn't clear, you're still fine.
The advice I gave him before dropping in the first time is that he should try to match his wheels to the landing so they both hit at the same time. To do that, he needs to go fast enough off the drop so that his back wheel doesn't hang up on the way down. In this extremely specific scenario, he can just focus on getting the right speed and feeling out that landing process. Even if he does hang up, he'll be able to ride away and start again.
Now what you have to do is do the same exact thing 3 times in a row. And so you'll feel like super confident, and then we'll try to maybe go up to the next height.
Sure, let's do it.
The best part about drops is that whatever's true on a small drop is also sort of true on a big drop. So that's why like working on a smaller drop like this is actually kind of perfect for you, because you can get all the things right. Like you're getting farther out there, you're working on your landing and feeling comfortable. If you go up, the only thing that really changes is that you have more time to adjust your body in the air, but that same feeling is going to be about the same. That's why this spot's just kind of perfect. Maybe give it like an extra pedal this time, so your bike can move faster off the drop, and that way it won't tag on the way down at all.
Sure.
I'm just gonna have him session this drop as much as possible so that he feels super confident, because ultimately it doesn't matter if it's a curb height or a little bit higher or a little bit higher. He's got to get the fundamentals locked in, and what perfect place for him to actually practice this. This is why I'm like having you do it over and over again, because my style of developing skills is like I have to do everything 3 times before I feel like I've got it. So like first time, luck. Second time, okay. But if you can do something 3 times in a row and feel super confident, then you've got it. So when you feel like you land 3 of these in a row, like perfectly stomped, then let's move up to the second one. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And this is why Bentonville rules. We can spend as long as we need sessioning this little drop setup before moving on to the next height. You can see how this process starts to become intuitive to him over time, instead of having him overthink all the steps that he needs to do. Ultimately, riding skills that become second nature are what build the most confidence, and that's why we're starting small and giving him a ton of repetition here. But after a while, the next height looks more reasonable and you can keep building up.
Hey, are there any mountain bike drops around here?
Maybe. All right.
How could this not be a proud dad moment?
Well, let's do it.
Nice, dude. How do you feel? You just did your first big mountain bike drop.
It was pretty good.
You want to go again?
I need to go faster.
Huh. Dude, you know what would be sick is if we did like a father-son drop together. How sick would that be?
You may notice one other thing that's been changing besides Tegan's comfort on the bike. Yesterday at Howler, we got him some proper mountain bike shoes, and today we hooked him up with a pair of Endura Humvee shorts. We're slowly getting him into the right gear over the course of this trip with the help of Jensen USA, and the padding in these shorts should make a big difference in his comfort on the bike, especially when it comes to pedaling uphill in the saddle. There's a link in the description of this video if you want to order a pair of these shorts for yourself.
So you never know who you're going to run into here in Bentonville. I've got Annika Beerton here who came to ride with us for a bit. She's also a mountain bike coach. I'm going to put the link to her YouTube channel and Instagram in the description below. You guys got to check out what she's got. We're going to go for a little ride around the All-American Trail, is that right?
Yep, let's do it.
Sweet.
Awesome.
What did you say, the Dutch word for awesome?
Oh, geweldig.
You just rode the same trails as like a multiple time world champion.
Nice work.
Thank you.
How was that?
Very good.
Yeah.
Annika as a racer was absolutely fierce, like the podium favorite every single time. And the fact that she lives in Bentonville now and she's riding with everybody, and more importantly, coaching everybody, that's like a huge deal.
Yeah.
For anybody that's local here to get trained by a multiple-time world champion. So cool. Thank you, Annika, for coming and riding bikes with us. That was all time. Now, one thing that just recently happened here in Bentonville is that they got hit by a giant tornado during the Bentonville Bike Fest of all times. And so the city has been kind of upended, and there's a lot of construction, there's a lot of damage, and we're gonna do our very best to stay out of the way of everybody that's doing the important work of getting this place back on track. That means we're not gonna get in the way of any of the dig crews, and we're just gonna stick to some of the areas that weren't affected, and we're gonna do our best to also stimulate the local economy by visiting some of our favorite places while we're here. But ultimately, the good news is that the city is definitely gonna bounce back. Bike Fest is gonna be back next year, even stronger than ever. And I think Bentonville is just here to stay. You see all the trails here, and it's just so impressive. It's so incredible that this place has been built in a way that not only makes it good for people to come ride and visit, but also makes it so that people can progress.
Oh, that felt so nice.
That was nice, dude.
That felt perfect.
Bentonville was a great place to solidify Tegan's skills and build up a few new ones, but now that we have that sorted out, it's time to put the mountain in mountain biking.
Well, I feel like we know where we're going from here.
That's right, Durango.